Something shifted in the story. Not loudly, not dramatically, but in a quiet and unsettling way. The kind of shift that only becomes dangerous after people realize what has already happened. Because sometimes the most important moment in a story is not when someone reveals the truth, but when someone decides to hide it. And the silence that followed that final interaction suggests that at least one character has now crossed a line they may never be able to return from. Welcome back to Marjan Reviews. What we witnessed was not simply another step in the story. It felt more like the beginning of a slow collapse. A collapse of trust, control, and possibly loyalty. Because when characters begin to speak less but watch each other more closely, it usually means that the emotional battlefield has already formed, even if no one has openly declared it yet. Nassim's behavior continues to be one of the most fascinating parts of the story. Earlier, he appeared confident and controlled, someone who believed he could manage every situation that appeared in front of him. But now his reactions feel different. More cautious, more calculated. Almost like someone who understands that every conversation he enters carries the risk of exposing something he has worked very hard to keep hidden. And when someone begins measuring their words that carefully, it usually means they are protecting something that could change everything if it were revealed. But the pressure around Nassim is not only coming from the outside, it is also coming from inside his own mind. The internal conflict we are seeing suggests that he may be struggling with two different priorities. On one side, there is the desire to maintain control over this situation. On the other side, there is the emotional weight of the secret he is carrying. And the longer he keeps that secret buried, the more unstable his situation becomes. Aya's reactions also deserve careful attention. Because while Nassim appears increasingly defensive, Aya appears increasingly observant. She is not reacting emotionally the way she once did. Instead, she seems to be studying the situation, watching carefully, listening more than speaking. There was a brief moment where Aya paused before responding to Nassim. It was subtle, but moments like that often reveal something deeper. It looked like she was deciding whether to say something directly or wait for more information before making her move. This kind of hesitation often signals suspicion. And if Aya is beginning to suspect that Nassim is hiding something important, then the tension between them could soon transform into something much more serious. Trust is fragile in any relationship, but in a story like this, once trust begins to fracture, it rarely heals easily. It spreads. One doubt leads to another. One unanswered question creates 10 more. Another interesting detail was the way certain conversations ended abruptly. Instead of reaching natural conclusions, several interactions simply stopped. As if both characters realized they were approaching territory that could expose something dangerous. These moments of interrupted dialogue often serve as warnings. They suggest that the truth is close enough to be felt, but not yet close enough to be spoken. And sometimes that is the most dangerous stage of all. Because once the truth begins moving beneath the surface, it becomes harder and harder to control where it will eventually appear. Another important emotional shift involves the power dynamics between the characters. Earlier in the story, certain individuals appeared to hold the strongest influence over the direction of events. But now that balance seems to be changing. Nassim is no longer acting like someone who controls the entire situation. Instead, he appears to be reacting, adjusting, adapting to forces that may be slowly surrounding him. This raises an important possibility. What if someone else has already realized the position Nassim is in? What if another character has begun quietly applying pressure without revealing their intentions? Manipulation in stories like this rarely happens through direct confrontation. It happens through small psychological moves. A question asked at the perfect moment. A suggestion placed carefully within a conversation. A look that reminds someone they are not as safe as they believed. And if someone is manipulating Nassim right now, they may be waiting for the exact moment when the pressure forces him to make a mistake. Because mistakes are how secrets escape. Another subtle clue was the change in emotional tone during certain scenes. Instead of open tension, we began seeing controlled calmness. but controlled calmness is often a mask. It is the kind of emotional silence people create when they are trying not to reveal what they are truly thinking. Which leads to an important question about the future of this story. What happens when that silence finally breaks? Because emotional restraint can only last so long. Eventually someone speaks too quickly. Someone reacts too strongly. Someone reveals knowledge they were not supposed to have. And when that moment happens, the entire structure of the story could change instantly. Looking ahead, there are several powerful possibilities for what might happen next. One possibility is that Aya may begin actively investigating Nassim's behavior. Instead of confronting him directly, she may start testing his reactions. Asking questions that appear simple on the surface but are designed to expose contradictions. Psychological confrontations like that are incredibly intense because both characters understand exactly what is happening beneath the conversation. Another possibility involves an unexpected betrayal. If someone realizes that Nassim is vulnerable, they might decide this is the perfect moment to shift alliances. Betrayal in stories like this often comes from the person who appears most supportive. A third possibility is that Nassim himself may decide to take control of the situation before the truth reaches him first. If he senses that people are beginning to suspect something, he may make a bold move to redirect attention somewhere else. That kind of strategy can work. But it can also backfire if the move reveals more than it hides. There is also the growing possibility of an emotional collapse. Secrets carry psychological weight, and the longer someone carries that weight alone, the more unstable they become. One moment of emotional weakness could lead to a confession that changes everything. But there are even deeper possibilities hiding beneath the surface. What if Nassim is not actually the person controlling the secret everyone is worried about? What if someone else placed him in this position intentionally? If that theory is true, then Nassim might not be the architect of this situation. He might be the piece on the board being moved by someone else. And here is another unsettling possibility. What if the real antagonist of the story has not fully revealed themselves yet? Sometimes the most dangerous characters are the ones who remain quiet during the early stages of the story, observing, learning, waiting for the exact moment, when everyone else is too distracted by their own conflicts to notice what is happening behind them. If someone like that exists here, then the events we are seeing now may only be the opening phase of a much larger plan. So, here's the question I want to ask you. Do you believe Nassim is slowly losing control of the situation? Or do you think he is still several steps ahead of everyone else? And more importantly, do you think Aya already knows the truth, or is she still searching for the missing pieces? Tell me your theory in the comments, because sometimes the most interesting predictions come from viewers who notice details that others miss. If you enjoy deep analysis, hidden clues, and powerful predictions about stories like this, make sure you subscribe to Marjan Reviews and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next breakdown. Because if the emotional tension we just witnessed continues to grow, the next chapter of this story could push these characters into decisions that will permanently change their relationships. And if even one of these theories becomes reality, the truth waiting beneath the surface may be far more destructive than anyone in this story is prepared to face.